Cheryl Ladd's journey to becoming a household name was far from simple. Long before she stepped onto the set of Charlie's Angels, she faced a series of challenges that would have discouraged most aspiring actresses. Cheryl was not born into fame or privilege. Instead, she came from a modest background and had to fight for every opportunity she received. Her early career began not in acting, but in singing. Many people do not know that Cheryl was the singing voice of melody on the animated series Josie and the Pussycats in the early 1970s. This job allowed her to make a living and pursue her dreams, but was far from glamorous. Day after day, she took on small projects, guest appearances, and low-budget work, often feeling like real progress was just out of reach. Hollywood, as many know, is an unforgiving place where talent alone is rarely enough. Cheryl was young, talented, and ambitious, but doors seemed to close as quickly as they opened. Friends and family remember that she faced long periods of self-doubt, wondering if her dream of becoming a famous actress would ever materialize. She spent years honing her skills, attending auditions and networking, often without any tangible results. The competition was fierce, and many of her contemporaries were getting the roles that Cheryl felt she deserved. Yet she refused to give up. She understood that perseverance and patience were essential. She continued to take on every small opportunity she could find, always hoping that one day the right role would present itself. Then, after years of struggle, the call finally came. Charlie's Angels, one of the most popular television shows of the 1970s, needed a new face. Farrah Fawcett, the show's breakout star and America's sweetheart, had decided to leave after only one season. The producers were desperate to find someone who could step into her shoes and keep the momentum of the show alive. They took a risk by selecting Cheryl Ladd, introducing her as Farrah's younger sister. This decision was both clever and risky. It allowed for continuity on the show, but it also placed Cheryl under immediate scrutiny. Audiences were devoted to Farrah, and critics questioned whether Cheryl could measure up. The pressure was immense, and Cheryl was fully aware of it. She stepped into the spotlight with grace and determination, ready to prove herself to viewers and critics alike. When Cheryl Ladd joined Charlie's Angels, she was walking into a high-stakes environment where expectations were enormous. The show had already become a cultural phenomenon, and replacing a beloved star like Farrah Fawcett was no small task. From the very first day on set, Cheryl could sense that fitting in with the existing cast would be far more challenging than winning over the audience. The producers welcomed her, but not everyone shared their enthusiasm. Some crew members and cast peers were cautious or even skeptical, unsure whether she belonged. Cheryl, always professional, smiled through interviews, showed up on time, and delivered her performances with dedication. She worked tirelessly to learn her lines, maintain her poise, and earn the respect of her colleagues. Despite her efforts, she often felt the weight of being an outsider. Cold glances, missing smiles, and subtle exclusion became part of her daily life. She tried to reach out, initiating conversations and participating in breaks, but the reception was often lukewarm. While the cameras captured a polished, confident new angel behind the scenes, Cheryl faced a lonely and challenging environment. Even small gestures of kindness from her were met with indifference, highlighting the difficulty of joining a tightly knit cast that had already established strong relationships. Over time, the tension started to affect not just the actors, but also the crew. When they observed Cheryl being left out, some unconsciously mirrored that behavior, further isolating her. Cheryl could have allowed this to demoralize her, but she chose to persevere. She focused on her craft, remained polite, and refused to let the negative energy around her define her experience. The audience gradually warmed to her presence, and ratings remained strong. Yet the real test was surviving the silent, emotional challenges behind the camera. Cheryl's journey highlights how much work goes unseen in television. While the public celebrated her performance, she bore the emotional weight quietly, striving to remain professional while navigating a complicated social landscape. Her early days on the show were marked by resilience, patience, and a determination to succeed despite the subtle hostilities she faced. Despite Cheryl's professionalism, one cast member, Kate Jackson, reportedly remained particularly distant. Kate, an original angel, had a strong creative voice and was deeply involved in shaping the tone of the show. While Cheryl was introduced as a new addition, Kate was concerned about how this change would affect the dynamics of the program. According to multiple sources, she referred to Cheryl dismissively as just another blonde Barbie doll, an expression that stung because of Kate's status and influence. This marked the beginning of a complex and lasting tension. Over time, small gestures of exclusion, sarcastic comments, and eye rolls created an invisible wall between the two actresses. Cheryl tried to remain professional, believing that her work should speak for itself, but the cold atmosphere was difficult to navigate. The third angel, Jacqueline Smith, often found herself mediating between the two, but even she could not deny the underlying friction. Reports from crew members described the set as cold enough to see your breath whenever Cheryl and Kate were in the same room. The tension was subtle at first, but it grew steadily, shaping the work environment and affecting interactions with everyone on set. Cheryl, despite her best efforts, realized that she could not force connection where none existed. She chose to focus on her craft and maintain her dignity, setting a boundary that she would later uphold for decades. The tension between Cheryl and Kate reached its peak during a particularly stressful period of filming. The script had gone through multiple rewrites, and Cheryl was asked to take on additional lines and a more central emotional arc, excited to prove herself. Cheryl embraced the opportunity. However, Kate reportedly interpreted these changes as favoritism, believing that the spotlight was shifting unfairly. A confrontation followed in the dressing room, during which voices were raised, doors slammed, and Cheryl walked out visibly shaken. This was a turning point. Cheryl refused to speak to Kate unless absolutely necessary for filming. Attempts by producers to mediate or encourage reconciliation were unsuccessful. The professional facade remained intact on camera, but off-screen, the cold distance was undeniable. Cheryl had reached a limit. She would not allow herself to be drawn into ongoing conflict. Her choice to maintain boundaries rather than publicly engage in the feud demonstrated both her strength and her commitment to self-respect. Following the confrontation, Cheryl remained a consummate professional. She continued to deliver strong performances, memorized the lines meticulously, and adhered to her commitments. Yet she refused to compromise her personal boundaries. She avoided promotional events or reunions where she would be seated near Kate, making a statement through her absence rather than through words. Unlike many Hollywood disputes that are fueled by gossip or sensationalized in tabloids, Cheryl chose dignity and silence. She did not attack Kate publicly, nor did she exaggerate the feud for personal gain. Instead, she allowed her work to stand as a testament to her perseverance and professionalism. This approach reinforced her reputation as someone who could rise above drama while still protecting her peace and self-respect. Over time, fans began to notice the distance between the actresses, analyzing interviews, old footage, and body language for signs of unresolved tension. Cheryl's refusal to elaborate became a powerful message in itself, demonstrating that silence can be more telling than any statement or headline. Even though Charlie's Angels was primarily an action-packed show with glamorous costumes and thrilling storylines, sharp-eyed viewers noticed a subtle tension between Cheryl and Kate. Fans dissected every scene where the characters appear together, noticing awkward silences, distant glances, and other minor cues. Online forums, fan message boards, and entertainment blogs began to speculate about what really happened behind the scenes. While the public saw smiles and cooperation on camera, insiders confirmed the ongoing hostility. Interviews from the early 2000s revealed Cheryl's careful approach. She spoke warmly at Jacqueline Smith, but gave a single-word response when asked about Kate. No, this response, though brief, spoke volumes, signaling that Cheryl had not forgiven or reconciled. Media coverage amplified the story, and fans pieced together years of subtle clues to understand the depth of the feud. While much of the public focus has been on Cheryl, understanding Kate's perspective adds nuance to the story. Reports suggest that Kate faced intense personal pressure, including health challenges that required multiple surgeries, along with frustration over the creative direction of the show. She had envisioned Charlie's Angels as a program with meaningful drama and depth, but the show increasingly emphasized glamour and style. This clash of expectations may have fueled Kate's anger and contributed to the coldness Cheryl experienced. Though it was directed at Cheryl, this behavior might have been an outlet for her own professional disappointment and personal struggles. Even decades later, Kate has remained largely silent about the feud, offering no public reconciliation or detailed explanation. Her reticence created an unresolved tension that reinforced Cheryl's decision to maintain boundaries. After a time on Charlie's Angels, Cheryl Ladd built a successful and diverse career. She starred in dozens of television movies, released music albums, published books, and became a respected public figure. She also cultivated a fulfilling personal life, marrying, raising a family, and contributing to charitable causes. Despite her many achievements, she never wavered in her decision regarding Kate. Cheryl declined reunion opportunities or events where Kate would be present, demonstrating her commitment to boundaries and self-respect. Her approach reflects resilience, showing that professional success does not require compromising personal values. Through her actions, Cheryl proved that dignity and grace can prevail even in the face of long-standing conflicts. The story of Cheryl Ladd and Kate Jackson is more than just a Hollywood feud. It is a lesson in professionalism, boundaries, and resilience. Cheryl's decision to remain civil on camera while maintaining distance off-screen shows the importance of protecting one's peace. Her career illustrates that one can achieve lasting success without engaging in public drama or revenge. Meanwhile, the unresolved tension reminds us that personal and professional conflicts can leave long-term impacts, even in high-profile industries. Fans continue to study the episodes, interviews, and public appearances, keeping the story alive. It is a reminder that behind the glamour and fame, real people navigate emotions, expectations, and challenges that may never be fully visible to the public. After leaving Charlie's Angels, Cheryl Ladd's career did not just survive. It flourished in ways that prove her talent went far beyond being the new Angel. While many actors struggled to escape the shadow of a breakout role, Cheryl managed to reinvent herself repeatedly, taking on dozens of television movies, starring roles in series, and even releasing music albums that showcase her versatility as a performer. She demonstrated that her early struggles in Hollywood, years of small guest appearances, low-budget projects, and unglamorous singing gigs, had prepared her for longevity in a fiercely competitive industry. Each project she chose reflected careful consideration, a desire to grow as an actress, and a commitment to maintaining her professional reputation. In interviews, Cheryl often emphasized the importance of discipline, preparation, and professionalism, and she consistently lived up to that ethos. Even as the industry shifted around her, with new stars rising and the style of television evolving, Cheryl remained a constant presence, respected for both her talent and her conduct. But her success was not limited to her professional life. Off camera, she built a fulfilling personal life, marrying, raising a family, and investing time and energy in causes and projects that mattered to her. Cheryl never allowed the long-standing feud with Kate Jackson to define her or overshadow her accomplishments. Instead, she treated it as a private matter, maintaining her distance while focusing on what she could control, her own life, career, and happiness. Over the years, she turned down multiple reunion opportunities that required being in the same room as Kate, signaling a clear boundary without resorting to public confrontation. This was not about bitterness. It was about self-respect, personal integrity, and protecting her peace. Cheryl's approach serves as an example for anyone navigating professional conflict. Her silence and composure sent a powerful message that dignity matters more than gossip or revenge. Fans who have followed her career closely notice that Cheryl's public persona has always been one of grace, warmth, and consistency. She has occasionally shared fond memories of working with Jaclyn Smith, speaking openly about their friendship and the bonds they formed during filming, but she never altered her stance regarding Kate. This careful balance, maintaining relationships where possible while upholding boundaries where necessary, speaks to Cheryl's maturity and self-awareness. Over the decades, as Hollywood feuds rose and fell around her, Cheryl consistently chose to let her work speak for itself, never feeding drama, never seeking the spotlight for personal vindication, and never allowing old wounds to derail her path. Her story after Charlie's Angels demonstrates not only resilience in the face of early career challenges, but also the wisdom to know when to engage, when to walk away, and when to protect oneself. In a way, Cheryl's legacy is twofold. She is remembered not just for her talent and the character she portrayed, but for the quiet strength, professionalism, and dignity she maintained in a world often obsessed with conflict, scandal, and fleeting fame. And while fans will always wonder about the details of her feud with Kate Jackson, the real story lies in Cheryl's choices. choosing growth over resentment, composure over anger, and her own peace over endless confrontation. In every project she took on, in every interview she gave, and in every public appearance, Cheryl demonstrated that success is not only about talent, but also about character. Her career trajectory and life choices illustrate that one can overcome early struggles, navigate difficult personal and professional relationships, and still emerge with integrity, accomplishment, and respect, a lesson that resonates far beyond the world of Hollywood. As the years went on, fans of Charlie's Angels began to notice something that the casual viewer might have missed at first: the subtle but unmistakable tension between Cheryl Ladd and Kate Jackson. While the episodes themselves were full of glamour, action, and the kind of fast-paced storytelling that kept viewers glued to the screen, those with sharper eyes began to pick up on small but telling details. Moments where Cheryl and Kate's characters appeared in the same scene sometimes felt stiff or awkward. Their body language, the way they avoided eye contact, or the slight pauses in their exchanges all hinted at a dissonance that extended beyond the script. Early fan message boards and forums, which became popular in the late 1990s and early 2000s, were filled with speculation and analysis. Fans would rewind episodes and discuss every glance, every reaction, every seemingly minor gesture, attempting to decode the truth behind what they sensed as a real-life tension. The media also played a role in fueling curiosity. Entertainment blogs and tabloids began covering the story, picking up on interviews and public appearances where Cheryl's answers were deliberately measured. Her famous single-word response when asked about Kate Jackson, "No," became a focal point for headlines and speculation. It was brief, definitive, and cold, yet it spoke volumes. Journalists and fans alike realized that Cheryl had chosen a very particular form of communication: silence and professionalism rather than gossip or confrontation. This silence, paradoxically, made the story even more compelling. People are naturally drawn to mysteries, and the idea that two stars of such a popular show were no longer on speaking terms sparked countless theories. Was it jealousy? A clash of personalities? Creative disagreements? Health and personal issues? Each rumor added another layer to the story, and the intrigue only grew because neither Cheryl nor Kate fully explained what happened. Even as decades passed, the lack of public resolution made the feud feel alive to new generations of viewers. Social media, retrospectives, and streaming platforms allowed fans to rewatch old episodes with fresh eyes, noticing subtleties that had gone unnoticed the first time around. Observers compared interviews, appearances, and behind-the-scenes footage, piecing together what might have occurred. Every time Cheryl spoke fondly of Jacqueline Smith or referenced the show in interviews, fans listened for clues, noting her careful omission of Kate's name. In doing so, Cheryl demonstrated an extraordinary level of control over her narrative. She did not allow gossip to dictate her story or diminish her career. By remaining calm and professional, she created a rare example of dignity in Hollywood, a field often defined by drama and sensationalism. The speculation, however, was not just idle curiosity. It reflected a deeper fascination with human behavior under pressure. Fans were witnessing not just a feud between two actresses, but a case study in professional boundaries, personal integrity, and the choices people make when faced with unresolved conflict. The intrigue surrounding Cheryl and Kate became almost legendary, a topic that could be discussed for hours without a single definitive answer. And in this way, the feud transcended gossip. It became part of the cultural memory of the show, a reminder that behind the glossy costumes and exciting storylines, real human emotions, tensions, and decisions shape the stories we see on screen. Even today, years after the original episodes aired, viewers continue to dissect performances, interviews, and public appearances, fascinated by the tension that Cheryl navigated with such quiet grace. What makes this feud enduring is not only the mystery of what happened, but also Cheryl's exemplary response. She neither fueled drama nor publicly retaliated, instead letting her work, her professionalism, and her silence communicate everything her words did not. It is a lesson in composure, resilience, and the power of boundaries, a lesson that resonates far beyond the world of Hollywood, showing that one can face adversity, maintain dignity, and still command respect from both fans and colleagues alike. While fans were speculating about the feud, Kate Jackson's side of the story remained largely hidden, adding even more mystery to the tension. Behind the glamorous facade of Charlie's Angels, Kate was dealing with immense personal pressure that few viewers could imagine. She had been one of the original trio who shaped the tone of the show and brought a seriousness and depth that distinguished it from other television programs at the time. That influence, however, came with its own burden. Kate was navigating not only the pressures of performing on one of the most popular shows on television, but also struggling with significant health challenges. Over the years, she faced multiple surgeries and medical treatments, a reality that added stress and fatigue to an already demanding schedule. Some close to her have suggested that her frustration with the show's increasing emphasis on glamour and action over substance spilled over into her interactions with colleagues, particularly with Cheryl, who represented the new direction producers were taking. Kate had a vision for the show that emphasized drama, character development, and meaningful storylines, and she reportedly saw Cheryl's introduction, while necessary for the show's continuity, as a symbol of a shift towards style over depth. These professional concerns, combined with personal challenges, may have contributed to her cold demeanor towards Cheryl. While Cheryl maintained her composure and professionalism, Kate reportedly did not attempt to bridge the gap, creating a persistent distance that never fully healed. Even when asked years later about her relationship with former cast members, Kate remained vague, giving polite but minimal responses. In one rare interview from the late 1990s, when asked if she stayed in touch with her co-stars, she simply said, "No, I have moved on," and offered no further explanation. This careful silence reflected her desire to keep her personal struggles and perspectives private, but also left fans and the media wondering why the feud remained unresolved. It seems that for Kate, her time on Charlie's Angels was associated with more than just personality clashes. It was intertwined with stress, health battles, and frustration over creative differences. While Cheryl may have borne the brunt of Kate's coldness, it was likely not entirely personal. Rather, Cheryl became an unintended target of a combination of professional tension, personal disappointment, and exhaustion. Kate's lack of public acknowledgement, apology, or private reconciliation attempts further reinforce the divide. Even decades later, this silence serves as its own statement, confirming that the rift was never addressed, and that any hope for reconciliation was minimal. Fans and industry insiders alike have noted that Kate's approach was consistent. She chose to protect her privacy and her own peace rather than engage in public discussions about past conflicts. Meanwhile, Cheryl's unwavering stance, professional, distant, and dignified, left no room for misunderstanding. The result was a permanent, unspoken boundary that both women maintained, a quiet testament to the complexity of human relationships in high-pressure environments. While some may view the situation as a feud in the traditional sense, it is more accurately a reflection of unaligned priorities, personal struggles, and differing responses to stress. Kate Jackson's challenges were real, multifaceted, and often private, and Cheryl's response, choosing professionalism, boundaries, and self-respect, allowed her to continue thriving in Hollywood without being dragged down by unresolved conflict. In the end, the absence of reconciliation is less a story of malice and more a story of two women navigating fame, ambition, and personal pressures in very different ways, with Cheryl's dignity and perseverance shining through as a lasting example of grace under fire as the years passed. Cheryl Ladd's career and public image evolved into something remarkable, not simply because of her talent, but because of the integrity and grace with which she navigated both her professional and personal challenges. While many actors are remembered only for the roles they play or the headlines that follow them, Cheryl's legacy is distinguished by her unwavering professionalism and the quiet strength she exhibited throughout her career. She continued to take on a variety of projects, from television movies and guest appearances to music and books, always choosing roles that aligned with her values and allowed her to grow as a performer. At the same time, she maintained clear boundaries in her personal and professional relationships, particularly with individuals who had caused her distress, such as Kate Jackson. This approach earned her admiration from colleagues who recognized her ability to remain composed under pressure, and from fans who appreciated her honesty and authenticity. Cheryl's story serves as a lesson in resilience and dignity. Rather than engage in public disputes or seek revenge, she allowed her work to demonstrate her worth, letting her talent, commitment, and consistency speak for themselves. In doing so, she sent a powerful message that true success is not just about fame or accolades, but about staying true to oneself and protecting one's peace. Fans who followed her career could see that Cheryl's decisions were never about holding grudges, but about maintaining self-respect, a principle that resonated deeply in an industry often characterized by sensationalism and drama. Over time, her reputation grew beyond the confines of Charlie's Angels, highlighting her versatility as an actress, singer, and public figure. She became a symbol of quiet resilience, showing that it is possible to thrive even after experiencing setbacks, conflicts, or personal hardships. Industry insiders frequently point to her professionalism on set, her reliability, and her commitment to her craft as examples for younger actors to emulate. Meanwhile, fans continue to follow her career and personal life with respect, understanding that Cheryl's decision to remain distant from Kate Jackson was rooted in self-preservation rather than malice. This nuanced perspective only deepened their admiration, as it illustrated the complexity of human relationships and the importance of prioritizing mental and emotional well-being over public perception. Cheryl also showed that maintaining friendships and connections where mutual respect existed, such as her enduring bond with Jacqueline Smith, was possible without sacrificing one's boundaries. This balance between connection and self-protection became a hallmark of her legacy, offering a subtle but powerful blueprint for navigating conflict in both professional and personal arenas. Even decades later, when retrospectives of Charlie's Angels or interviews about the cast emerge, Cheryl's approach remains consistent. She speaks thoughtfully, celebrates the work she loved, acknowledges those she respected, and avoids unnecessary drama. This careful, principled approach has cemented her status as not only a talented performer, but also a model of integrity in a competitive and often unforgiving industry. Through her choices, Cheryl demonstrated that real strength is not always loud or confrontational. Sometimes it is quiet, steadfast, and persistent. Her career, her personal life, and her enduring reputation all reflect the lessons learned from those early years of tension and challenge, that professionalism, dignity, and self-respect can outlast conflict, and that success is measured not just in awards or fame, but in the consistency of character over time. In this way, Cheryl Ladd's story resonates beyond Hollywood, offering inspiration for anyone navigating difficult relationships, professional challenges, or personal setbacks, showing that the most powerful legacy is one built on grace, resilience, and the courage to remain true to oneself. Over the years, the feud between Cheryl Ladd and Kate Jackson has continued to intrigue fans and commentators alike, becoming one of the most discussed behind-the-scenes stories in television history. Even decades after Charlie's Angels first aired, viewers still revisit old episodes, rewatching scenes with a heightened awareness of the tension that once existed on set. Social media, streaming platforms, and fan forums have amplified this fascination, allowing new generations to speculate, analyze, and piece together subtle clues from episodes, interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage. Fans note every glance, pause, or awkward interaction, comparing it to stories reported by former cast and crew members, attempting to understand what really happened between Cheryl and Kate. The media has also contributed to keeping the story alive. Entertainment magazines, blogs, and television retrospectives often highlight the feud as a key element of the show's legacy, framing it as a cautionary tale about workplace dynamics, personality clashes, and the pressures of fame. Documentaries and special features on Charlie's Angels often dedicate segments to the relationship between the cast members, discussing Cheryl's professionalism in the face of coldness and Kate's private struggles without ever fully resolving the mystery. This ongoing coverage has ensured that the story remains a point of cultural interest, blending nostalgia for the original series with fascination about what goes on behind the camera. Critics and commentators often point out that the tension between Cheryl and Kate was not simply personal, but also a reflection of broader industry challenges, including gender dynamics, the pressures placed on leading actresses, and the high-stakes environment of primetime television. Cheryl's choice to remain dignified, maintain boundaries, and focus on her work has become a model of how to navigate difficult professional relationships, and fans frequently cite her actions as an example of grace under pressure. Likewise, Kate Jackson's silence, while less transparent, has been interpreted as a sign of her desire to prioritize privacy and manage personal struggles in her own way, adding nuance to the story rather than casting it in a purely negative light. The feud has also sparked discussion about the role of perception versus reality. While viewers initially interpreted small gestures and interactions as evidence of a personal rivalry, later insights suggest that the situation was complex, involving career ambitions, health issues, creative disagreements, and emotional pressures. This layered understanding has made the story more compelling, showing that real human behavior is rarely simple or one-dimensional. For fans, the unresolved nature of the tension only adds to the intrigue, leaving space for interpretation, speculation, and discussion even decades after the show ended. Many appreciate that Cheryl's approach, avoiding gossip, staying professional, and protecting her own well-being, allowed her to